All right, so here we go. It's going to be the recap now for this Thursday, May 25th, 2023. I have to apologize. I don't think today's morning show had a glitch. I don't think we recorded the whole thing, so I apologize for that. Not sure what happened, but for some reason it stopped recording about 2 or 3 quarters into it. So anyway, let's take a look and see how we did. I'll try to show you what we did after the first hour as well. So, first trade was obviously on the gold. You saw us buying the gold. We did buy the gold. But I wanted to show the mini NASDAQ first because that was the one that really really got hurt on the mini NASDAQ. And one of the things I want to say about when you're trading indices, and take it from a guy that's been doing this now for 40 years. I've been trading the ES, or the mini S&P. At that time, it was a big S&P 500. Been trading this now for over 40 years now. But the thing is, one of the things I've learned over my last 40 years of trading is that you can't use specific limits on your losses. In other words, you can't come in and say, I'm only going to risk 1,000 or 1,500. Your loss has to be a function of the volatility of the market, okay? So if the market as the market goes up in value, okay, so as we're going up, like right now we're sitting at, 13,000. As you're starting to go up in price, the volatility is naturally going to increase. So, you're going to have some pretty hefty swings. Now, if we start coming down, then you're going to see the volatility go down as well. So your stop has to be able to adjust to that volatility, okay? So a lot of my stops are fairly large, but the thing is I know that the probability of getting stopped out, I'm only going to be running around 25% of actually having to get stopped out and or stopped out in reverse. So the probabilities are highly in my favor that I'm not going to get stopped out, okay? So I'm using bigger stops, but that's giving me a much higher win percentage than if I try to put a particular dollar amount in it, okay? So my stops are going to be a function of the volatility. That being said, we started off in gold, but let's take a look at the mini NASDAQ, because that's really what destroyed what I had going on. Was going to be a fairly decent day. So I had an HF3 short on the mini Russell. That came in around 9:39 this morning. So that was fairly right after the opening. I got this nice little HF3 short here. And then we rallied up. I had another entry point right here, and you see where I added it to sell. The problem is it didn't pull back down. It finally did come up to my stop level up here. So not only did I lose it on my initial position, but I also lost on my second add-on position. That happens, like I said, that is going to happen from time to time. But overall, when I'm adding on, I still have a nice 75% probability it's not going to be hitting this. But once again, it's going to happen. That's just part of trading. And unfortunately, it hit me pretty good with a $1,600 loss. Where I did recover some of that was on the mini Russell, which I actually bought and had a nice little trade there. So I never really got a short on the mini Russell. That mini Russell didn't come in. Actually, that mini Russell came in early as well. That came in around 9:04. So kind of like a hedge, I guess you could say, against that mini NASDAQ. So, but I never got a short on the mini Russell. All right, so kind of help taper some of that loss on that mini NASDAQ. So, but I did have a fairly decent day in gold. So let's take a look at that gold chart real quick. All right, so here's the gold chart. Started off as an entry buy. This was pairing pattern. Nice pattern, but just not one of my stronger patterns. It turned out to, first trade ended up being a loss. But I exited my buy here, but shortly thereafter, I had an HF1 short. Now, whenever I have an HF1 following a pairing pattern, I like to take those HF1 shorts, okay? So there's definitely some relationship between the patterns. And this particular HF1 had a fairly nice little size target, which was this green line down here. But I had to stay in this trade for quite a while, so I did end up reversing, and I added to my size. I never added as it came up. It didn't come up high enough for me to add into it, but I did add, and then it finally hit my target, and that didn't come in until about 3:30 in the afternoon. So I was in that gold most of the day, but it actually turned out to be profitable. So, but the net overall, still, because of that big loss on the mini NASDAQ, I still lost $717. So once again, the lesson here is that if you're trading these indices, all right, work with using design your stops to be a function of the volatility. So the more volatility you have, you want to use bigger stops. And the smaller volatility, right, you can use tighter stops. But remember, it works both ways, right? You're going to be taking larger losses if you're using bigger stops, but you're also going to have bigger gains because of the volatility. So it kind of goes both ways. All right, so did a little better in stocks. Let's take a look at our stock trades for today. All right, so the stocks did much better, obviously, but I wanted to talk about BMR. BMR was a very exciting trade today. So I'm also going to show you what Bookmap looked like as well, because Bookmap will show us kind of where the orders are. It also gives us an indication of the amount of buyers and sellers and at what level they're coming in at. So I want to show you that, but it started off, ended up getting a nice HF1 buy right around here, around 845. Now I did have several levels. I had a 1, 2, 3, and a 4 levels. I had 4 levels. All right. So what happened is once I got in, I went ahead and added down here, and I'm going to show you why I added down here. Okay. So what this is showing here, if we can see it, this is 845, this is 845. So I entered right around in here. All right. This horizontal line right here shows a lot of sellers, a lot of sell orders. This line, as we get darker, shows a lot of buyers. So when it came down and it started hitting this, I went ahead and I added into my buy order for BMR. The plan was that I was going to get out after it hit level 1, but I wanted to see if it was going to take off and hit level 2, of which it did, and then it started pulling back. But I was still seeing a lot of buying coming in on this trade. All right. And then it just went parabolic on me. Once it broke through this wall of sellers, which also happened to be one of my levels up here, I had a 625 level sitting up here. This wall of sellers came in, I think it was around between 6 and 615, something like that. Once it blasted through that levels, I really thought that we were going to go parabolic, all right? And so what ended up happening here is not only did I think it was going to go parabolic, but I was waiting for this thing to halt, because had it halted, then we would have had another opening and probably would have had a much further gap up, and that's what I was planning to get out. So after it hit this level right here and it blasted through all those orders, I watched it come all the way up to 742. 742. Okay. Then we pulled back and then we started going again. I was thinking, okay, we're going to halt. We're going to halt. But then it failed. After we made this third high right over here and we couldn't hold, I went ahead and I got out right here. So I actually ended up taking half of the profit right here once it broke through these 4 levels, all right? And then I ended up exiting the full amount after it couldn't go parabolic and it didn't halt on me, so I went ahead and got out. So that ended up to be a beautiful trade. Now, these are the kind of trades we live for. These are called parabolic moves. Now, some of these, as you've seen with a few stocks in the past, these things can just go up, $3, $4, $5, $6. All right. It's very possible. This could have been one of those today. So when you're watching these trades, you got to really have your finger on the trigger, because you don't know. It could do what it did today. It never halted and it just failed on us, and then it pulled back, and so I had to end up getting out. In this case, it was a wise move. Yeah, it did finally come back, and it had that real big burst took it all the way up to $8, but I wasn't going to get back in and play it again. I was done with that. So that was my one big trade. Everything else, just scalping. As you know, most of these I've been getting out at the very first level, so I haven't been really following any really strong moves on the majority of my stocks, particularly after the opening bell. If I'm getting into a stock after the opening bell, I really don't expect it to go more very parabolic. Most of your parabolic moves are going to come after the opening, similar to what we did today on BMR. And so if I don't get in this gray area is pre-market, and then it opened at 9:30 here. So that's right after the opening when you start to go parabolic. Most of these other trades came in later on, and I'm just going to be scalping them, okay? So when I get into a trade, I'm basically just going to be getting in and out. I'm just going to be scalping them. First levels are really easy to hit, so I'm just going to get in, get out at first level, and just take a little piece out of it here and there. And so it still ended up being a nice day. Would have been a great day had I not gotten hit on that the mini NASDAQ. But hey, it is what it is. So that's going to wrap it up for today. One more day. Tomorrow is going to be finally Friday. So we'll go ahead and see what the action looks like in the morning. I don't recall. There is a report coming out tomorrow. I can't remember exactly what it is, but there is going to be a report out in the morning. I don't expect a whole lot of volatility that's going to be generated from that report, but you never know. So it still could end up being a really nice Friday, or it may die off. One thing about Fridays is you can pretty much count on to get some pretty nice trades off first thing in the morning, but then it can really go dead on you after the first couple hours. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. All right, that's it. And if you have any questions, best way to get a hold of me is via my website, innovativetradingstrategies.com. Check out all my videos on YouTube, Innovative Trading Strategies. And also, please don't forget to subscribe and also hit that like button. And if you like to be updated on any of the new videos that I'm putting out, just also hit that notification bell. All right, everybody have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow.